is that extreme poverty and suffering exist everywhere, all due to these policies of the World Bank, with the absconded resources going to U.S. markets where Americans will pay top dollar for goods and services. An extremely huge international budget exists to support Tier 2 level of the garbage science that is pawned off to the generally unsuspecting public. With this roof of stupidity, the world leaders can promote disinformation campaigns like their controlled news media and their outlets. That is like taking candy from a baby, and many believe everything they are being told. Re-education is virtually impossible because, well, first, you have to convince the public that everything they know is wrong. But therein lies the ego problem. If people are basically not interested, there is no challenge, as they are only interested in drinking beer and watching sports and possibly the latest afternoon soap or reality TV show, or, in case of the kids, endless hours of video games. Not a lot of thought going on here, boys and girls. And the endless amount of poisoning of our food and water and air. Second group, pseudo group, they went to college or have an advanced degree. And how could they be completely looking down the wrong rabbit hole? Their college education, which we started mentioning yesterday, when the education systems were taken over to be a certain mindset, so that we will pull the line and be wonderful future people who work in the plant, in the factory. Their college educations, that's costing a boatload of money, right? So it will be ludicrous to imagine changing their thought patterns, at least on a large scale. The more education one has, the more difficult re-education is. This is a rule I've established over my lifetime of education in this ever-changing universe. The educated public, fields of astronomy, astrophysics, space science, harbor the most boneheaded, unchangeable people I have ever heard of. Additionally, they have the belief that they must form the basis of opinion regarding overall axioms or basic assumptions about the Earth and other solar system members. So, geology must also follow that axiom that the solar system was formed all at once 4.5 billion years ago and nothing else has happened since. Geologists then labor under this albatross of a theory and create dozens of concepts that have no proof and therefore could not possibly be true, such as plate tectonics, the way they think of them, or attempts at explaining the fact that within the past 10,000 years the Earth's sea levels have changed dramatically. Oil is stated to be a fossil fuel, implying that it is formed by decaying fern forests and dinosaur bones. Yet, there were vast deposits confirmed to be up to 20 miles under the surface of the ocean floor. How do we get those things? How did they get there? It is amazing to watch scientists hide their collective departmental heads in the sand and keep spewing the same absurdity, incorrect axioms without actually noticing the screaming contradictions here. Now, concepts regarding water control and mismanagement, of course, not a new topic, explored by many researchers. Identifying the correct science regarding true sources of water, and secondly, proclaiming as of July 4th, 2013, the day of worldwide declaration of water independence that needs to override all governmental and minion agency policies is where I'm going from this. I have a little excerpt that I thought you guys would like from an article by an author called Michael Bergman. I found it on that webpage. True TV is a really good one. Just a few of the horror stories that abound in the world today. Literally every country and now every state and country in the U.S. and all other regions of the developed world have their own litany of water control, takeovers, and abuses of power. This book is not a facts book about water, and yet it is good to get a perspective on how other authors are talking about this. I could fill chapters of lists, particular problems, but it would just cloud the result, which is Declaration of Water Independence. Owning the world's water sounds like science fiction plot, right? A James Bond movie. It's not. Water supplies are being privatized at an alarming rate. This is not just in Europe or developing world. It's in the States. Many cities and county governments have handed their water systems over to private corporations. This is the same is true in Canada, and I have an article up on the page today of how the United States has bought full control of the St. Lawrence River in Canada. By the way, none of these companies that own the water in the United States or Canada under the American name are owned by companies in the U.S. Three biggest players are the Swiss company Nestle and two other French companies, Suez and Veolia. These huge multinationals operate in countries all over the world, of course, as they do. At the same time, another global attack is taking place. Suddenly, the big players in big oil are turning to water. You may have even seen and noticed the headlines. Water is the new oil. They call it blue gold. Clearly, impressed by this argument is one of the most famous petroleum clans, the Shirks, the Bush family, of course, enriched beyond their wildest dreams of avarice by oil. The Bushes have gone into water. A dusty town named Chaco, Paraguay, has become dead center in their sights, straddling three frontiers of Bolivia, Brazil, and Paraguay. Chaco sits on the top of a huge underground aquifer. In many countries, and in the state of Texas, he owns the land, but also owns the water underneath it. A documentary filmmaker, Sam Bozo, asserts in the film Blue Gold that the Bushes are gearing up to pull the trigger on a 98,000 acre buy. According to Bozo, Jenna Bush has already been to the region to eyeball the new family holdings. The aquifer the Bushes covet, the Aquifero Guarani, is one of the largest water reserves on the planet. It runs beneath Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, an area larger than Texas and California combined. Needless to say, the Bush family could not be reached for comment. About 350,000 liters of water are used to manufacture one car. 2 to 7 barrels of water are needed to produce 1 barrel of oil. 32 liters of water are used to make 1 microchip. 50,000 dams have been built worldwide, and now, for the first time in human history, more people are living in cities than not, and of all of them, They are thirsty. Global companies, multinationals, are not too happy or only too happy to exploit this dire situation by privatizing what is left. Consider T-Bone Pickens, and thank you for bringing that up to me yesterday, guys. That was really good. He has made his fortune on oil and natural gas. Just like the Bushes, he is now enamored with water. And like a lot of places, Texas lassos water and land ownership together. You own one, you own the other. So Pickens bought up huge parcels of land in the Texas Panhandle. It's mostly scrub and ranch land, but as the saying goes, location, location, location. Pickens' land sits on top of the Oglala Aquifer, the largest in the United States. He's drilled huge oil wells on his land and is making plans to build pipelines to take the water south to Dallas and San Antonio. And you can watch Conspiracy Theory on Water, Jesse Ventura. Pretty interesting. But Pickens, actually, one sec, ran into a hiccup. Local water district raised objections to his scheme. So Pickens did a clever Texas two-step, incorporated his ranch as a town. The citizens of Pickensville are all employees and family members. Now he can happily drain huge amounts of water without all of those pesky locals looking over his shoulder. He openly boasted on CBS News that his water investments will soon be worth $1 billion. Some folks in Stanwood, Michigan, think it's the latter, though. Nestle built a giant bottling plant in their town. They're making chocolate milk, right? Makes no sense. What they're doing is draining huge amount of water from Lake Michigan. It's sold throughout the country under Ice Mountain label. Without a doubt, Nestle provides jobs for some locals, but take a closer look at this plant and you'll find some disturbing facts here. One thing, the giant pumps sucking the water out of Lake Michigan are nowhere near the lake itself. That would be too obvious. The pumps are located some 12 miles from the plant itself. Nestle, cozily, in a nice private game reserve, where they do their work 24/7, vigorously siphoning off the underground water that feeds Lake Michigan. And not surprisingly, Nestle Corporation rejected numerous requests for interviews about this. And the fee for taking this beautiful, precious natural resource, $100 annually. There's something else. Many experts believe the Great Lakes could actually be drained dry if water mining continues unchecked. And did we just not have a series of underground earthquakes in the Great Lakes? Atlanta, Georgia, biggest city in the U.S. to privatize its water. After signing over its municipal systems, residents were, reporting their tap water was brown and had a weird smell. In July 1999, Northumberland Water, subsidiary of Suez, was cited by officials for having high levels of iron and manganese in their processed water. It was declared unfit for drinking. There are many examples of this. According to Albernet report, Vivendi, another French multinational, subsidiaries in Trégueux, France, supplied residents with water unfit for consumption for 476 days between 1990 and 1993. Also, BBC reported 5 companies in the UK, and this is Algin, Severn Trent,